we're going to start out with the floor bridge and different variations of that, make you aware of the 5 kinetic chain checkpoints, and just common compensations that you'll probably run into when seeing somebody do this exercise. Got my lovely model here. We want to make sure that we start out with our feet about hip width apart. If you would go just a tiny bit wider with your feet for me. And let's have your palms facing up to the ceiling. The reason I do that is just to make sure that your client doesn't push down into the floor as we do it. Everything looks really good. We want to make sure that we find neutral to start in the pelvis. So if you would, arch your back as much as you can, and then squash it down as much as you can, and settle on what you feel is the middle. Belly button's pulled in, and from here, we just want to lift with the glutes and push the hips up to the sky and squeeze your glutes. Hold it, and bring it down nice and slow. Perfect. Keep doing those for me at about that tempo. Squeeze. Good. And some of the things we want to look for, hold at the top, is we want to make sure that the knees are staying in line with the heels and with the toes. We want to make sure that nothing is happening in the low back, looking to see if there's an excessive arch in the low back. Go ahead and bring your hips down. What I want you to do is I want you to do this next repetition and arch from the low back as you do it. So if you can kind of see that big arch that you have going on there, that's a bit problematic. Go ahead and have the client bring their hips back down. And one of the things that I've found is helpful on this, sometimes you have clients that can really sort of feel what's going on with their hips, and they can make adjustments if you give them to them up there. But the way that I look at it is if somebody arches from the hips, is they're leaning a little too high perhaps from the hip. So if I say, you know what, think of moving a little bit lower, so think of pushing up from this part here, go ahead and lift up. That might take the arch out of it. I've seen it work, doesn't always work, but you can give it a try. Hips back down. The other common problem that you're going to see is, especially if somebody has been told in the past to curl the spine up off the floor, is that they'll lead with the glutes or with the hamstrings taking over, and they'll tuck the butt on the way up. So go ahead and show that. There you go. Bring it back down. Do it one more time. I want you to watch the hips. See how there's that kind of segmental leading. Bring it back down. We're not doing that right now. Right now we only want to see motion coming from the hips, not a series of motions. So what we want to do on that one is not have you tuck. I want you to almost think of lifting from a little bit higher up on the hip on this one and bring it up. And squeeze. Bring them down. Excellent. So those are the two common problems you'll see at the hips. Progressions of this now, we can start to make things more challenging when your client's able to control everything really well. What we can do is lift up with the hips on both feet. Now I want you to extend at the knee from this leg. Bring the foot back down and bring the hips down. Good, let's do the other side. Hips up, extend at the knee, foot down, and hips down. Now I didn't start off by saying it, but you kind of notice my positioning here. This is a pretty safe and decent place to be to get a good look at what's going on with your client. I could also be up here at the head. Where I want to try to stay away from is from being down here and looking up at my clients. It doesn't look the most professional maybe to other people that are watching you train that person, but it's something to be aware of. Next variation that we're going to do, I want you to extend your leg to start with, and now come up with the one leg. And squeeze that glute, excellent. Bring it down nice and slow. What we're looking for here to make sure everything's going well, let's do it from the other side, is lift up. We want to make sure that the hips stay level. Drop this side down. If we see that there is a tilt of the hips, make the client aware, lift this side up. If they can cue out of it, fantastic, bring it down. Give them the opportunity to do it right. If after several cues they can't get it right, I would assume that it's a little bit too difficult of a progression for them. Does feel good? Mm-hmm. Feel them in the glutes? Mm-hmm. That's what we're looking for. So those are some common variations that you'll see regarding the floor bridge. Hope you found those helpful. Thank you.